Good morning, everyone. My name is Longshibeni, and I belong to the Lothanaga tribe from the northeastern part of India. I speak Lothanaga language known as Kyong, which comes within the larger family of the Tibeto-Burman languages. It's a privilege to be part of this conference, and I want to thank the organizers, particularly Professor Neoxid Gray Morning, for giving me voice through this platform. The Lothanaga tribe, or simply Naga, which is the indigenous community to which I belong to, is a testament to resilience, cultural richness, and unwavering spirit of endurance in the face of a complex history marked by colonialism and insensitive modern Indian state intervention. The focus of today's presentation, however, is towards traditional wisdom regarding water, which has been passed down across several generations and offer a window into a way of life and worldview. As we navigate the complexities of the present day marked by water-related challenges, I aspire to contribute to the ongoing conversations of sustainability. Let me start by introducing the Lotha Nagas. The image depicted on the screen here is a group of Naga warriors along with their partners performing at an annual event called the Hornbill Festival, which is held in Nagaland every year. Now, who are the Lotha Nagas? Naga as a whole is a collective term used for a group of tribes inhabiting the present northeastern part of India and northwestern Burma. All tribes, including the Lotha Nagas, within the ambit of Naga are considered one owing to shared history, cultural similarities, linguistic connections, and geographical proximity of their ancestral homelands. As per the recent census, the population of the Lotha Nagas is 173,111. They were earlier animists, but today the Lotha Nagas are predominantly Baptist Christians. The Lotha Nagas speak Kyong dialect, which is Tibeto-Burman linguistic family group. The Nagas in general and Lotha Nagas in particular were colonized by British in the later half of the 19th century. And there was a strong resistance, but despite strong resistance against the British colonial rule and later against the integration of the Naga territories into the newly independent nation of India, the Naga region had been divided by artificial boundaries that were drawn during the colonial era and after India's independence, which has had a significant impact on the Naga communities and their aspirations. Following series of negotiations, the Naga Hills district was granted statehood as Nagaland in 1963 within the Indian Union. However, the demand for complete sovereignty remain unresolved and armed conflicts continue. RIVAS, as we know, is typically a severe and challenging situation related to water availability, water quality, or even water management that can have significant negative impacts on communities and ecosystems. They can arise from varied natural and human activities or a combination of both. Now, coming back to Nagaland and a little bit about how this work on water actually incepted. It was way back in 2012 or so when every now and then I would read newspaper headlines, social media and new media platforms problematizing water insufficiency for even basic household utility and other productive purposes like crop cultivation and livestock rearing, including the areas inhabited by my own people. I was born in the Lota area myself, but grew up elsewhere for education and employment of my parents. Even then, I had been in touch with my people and kept myself updated with all the happenings there. Now, if we consider the natural landscape, Lota area is basically hilly with favorable climatic conditions and receives good amount of rainfall. However, it comes as a surprise when, despite these factors, my people still talk about water insufficiency and this situation being even worse in the town areas where people buy water at a very high cost. And it was imperative for me witnessing these episodes not to remain a mute spectator, but make a deliberate effort at least to understand what was really going on. I realized over the passage of time that the issue cannot be merely environmental, but a social one. And it was this curiosity and yearning to learn further that led me enroll myself for my PhD program, and the research journey began thereon. I looked into the literature to see how possibly I could approach this problem theoretically and methodologically, and I found enormous scope for these conversations in the emerging field of the anthropology of water. Anthropology of water is a relatively new sub-branch within anthropology. It incepted only around 1990s with increasing recognition of water as a socially and culturally relevant resource. As an emerging field, it examines the way in which human societies and cultures interact with water and how these interactions in turn shape social and cultural beliefs, practices, and ideologies of water. Most recently, it accentuates traditional water wisdom to bridge the gap between policy formulation and intervention. Given this backdrop, the larger question asked through my research were, how does the Lota perceive, value, and manage water? Now let's take a look at some of the findings that shows the primacy of water in the life of the Lotas. We'll start with the legend of Mount T in Nung. This image, as you can see on the screen, it occupies a special place in the Lota, in the life of the Lota Nagas. It has now been converted into a tourist spot for its scenic beauty and historical significance. It was believed that the Lotas, after taking several routes of migration, have halted at this place, especially for the reason that it had abundant water to sustain the tribe. Later on, when the settlement ran out of water owing to growing population, some members within the tribe started to move out to different directions, possibly with more abundant water, further testifying the relevance of water in deciding a settlement. Interestingly, the authenticity of this place as an ancient settlement is also validated by archaeological findings, which were found to be in line with the oral tradition that tells about its significance. Today, there has been change in the natural landscape, as can be seen on the screen. After several generations, this settlement looked like this. I also want to bring your attention to community fishing. As you can see on the screen, many would assume this to be a community act to catch hold of fishes, but it is not so, because this traditional assemblage of people is not for mere catch, but a way of bringing tribe members together. And river water source is integral here because this takes place in a river called River Doyang. In this case, river water is a site of expressing social solidarity, cohesion, and communitarian ethos. And this practice continues up to the present time, upholding the same principle. This is how community fishing looks like back in the early 1900s. There were also this strong adherence to distinct being or water spirits with their own unique personalities, emotions, and powers. They were believed to reside in water bodies and often portrayed to be protectors of those respective water bodies. And across generations, my people have avoided activities that might possibly anger the water spirit, because any harm to these water sources, well, eventually anger the spirit, and then the spirit will manifest misfortune for the entire community. This belief is still prevalent, and I, in fact, came across many older informants who have testified their personal encounter with water spirit in the village that they reside. And I do not really know how far such experience holds water, but one thing is certain, that the adherence to such belief across generations have prompted them to have minimal disturbance to these water sources, and that in turn has conserved water in the process. And because water is vital and prime resource, many rainfall rituals were observed in the past to express reverence to water spirits. These spirits in turn will assure abundant rainfall for the prosperity of the tribe. Most of these rituals were symbolic and involve animal sacrifices and symbolic objects, but they're no longer observed today because the Lota Nagas have become Christians. This is the traditional form of governance of water that has been handed down across generations. We call it Tongti in the Lota Naga language. It encompasses of a council of elderly men thought to be wiser and knowledgeable by virtue of credentials and experience, specially instituted to ensure inclusivity in matters of access of water. They maintain that water is shared within the tribe members. In fact, it was a matter of shame for the entire tribe members when any household within the village is deprived of water. They operate to mobilize the tribe's member for collective activities such as maintenance of water sources and even penalizing defaulters of water sources. This institution is still operative in the rural parts of Nagaland, and very recently it has received the patronage of the state government. The state government facilitates by providing adequate funding in matters of operation and maintenance of water sources, whereas the major decision concerning planning and overall management is still undertaken by the local community. This institution has also received global recognition with the UN Award for its inclusiveness in matters of greater community participation, access, cost effectiveness, and minimal land-related conflicts. This institution, however, is currently operative only in the rural sites, and given the increasing conflicts in the urban areas, we have been looking for ways to work out the possibility to integrate them in the urban areas as well. Across generations, my people have also believed in the healing properties and curative aspects of water for health, for well-being. And there were many water sources which were revered for its medicinal properties, although many of these sources are almost non-existent today. But during the course of my work, I did manage to spot a spring water source which the native people thought to possess medicinal properties and is protected until present. The people believe that drinking and a mere path from this water body could actually improve skin texture and even heal other minor ailments. I've also tried to look into the traditional water technology, and I found these interesting water storage and channeling systems which were used by my ancestors. I found them to be quite efficient, accessible, cost-effective, and even environmental friendly. Unfortunately, today they're nowhere to be found, and I had to rob in these old photographs from JP Mills captured over 4 decades ago. In this picture, one can observe these women with these giant bamboo vessels. We call it chatti in our Lota Naga language. It is made from this giant bamboo species called Dendrocalamus dicandius. This bamboo species is also known as onang in Lota Naga language. Chatti would usually be about 4 to 5 feet tall with about 8 liters of storage capacity. They would be carried in water holding baskets or chiparal, although the holding capacity would vary between an adult individual and young children. Also, water from high elevations, since Lotha Nagas inhabit the hill areas, water from the higher elevation were tapped closer to home and agricultural fields by creating a small tank-like structure, which were then allowed to flow down gravitationally on a long bamboo channel. These channels consist of split bamboo, which are connected at their ends, and the entire channel is meant to stand above a certain height above the ground with a wooden or bamboo pole. Although widely prevalent in the past, but it is now found only in few rural pockets. So this is only a gist and few aspects of traditional water wisdom which I've highlighted. Circumstances are not the same anymore, and in the context of Nagas in general, and Lothas in particular, as I've mentioned at the beginning of my presentation, the present is very much the product of colonialism and later some insensitive Indian state intervention, resulting in violence, discrimination, and even cross violation of human rights in the last 100 years or so, and it's still continuing. While in the process, we have become extremely resilient communities, but on the other hand, these processes have also greatly altered the traditional way of life, both for better and for worse. And what I have learned in the process of exploring traditional water wisdom is certainly certain ways of thinking, attitudinal and behavioral aspects that have enabled my ancestors to live peacefully with the natural environment and help them sustain in difficult circumstances. In addition, the need to explore this traditional water wisdom would not have arisen if there were no inadequacies in the current water management systems. And this is precisely the rationale behind my own research and the practicality of looking to the past for solutions that can address the shortcomings of the present water management systems, particularly in an increasingly urbanized areas. Post this realization, what I have been doing is to make the most of different platforms to share my findings and generate awareness within academic community and civil society organizations, particularly with the present young generation. This is an ongoing initiative to ensure that insights from traditional water wisdom are recognized and integrated for a sustainable future. So this is it for my presentation now. For further observations, comments, queries, and even collaboration, if any, feel free to write me at this email address. Thank you.